Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and we are studying about the first chapter, the living world, and the topics. We will start with systematics today, right? Let us understand what actually the biodiversity means. What is the actual meaning of biodiversity? See, this earth is a diverse planet. It contains a lot of different kinds of species with different kinds of characteristics, right? There are a lot of different kinds of characters which were not at all similar in between the one species and another species, isn't it? Then let us go on with the definitions and understandings of biodiversity. The biodiversity is not limited to the existing life forms. If we explore new areas, even old ones, new organisms are continuously being added. See, our earth is a diverse planet. I can say that we have not even identified 1% of the organisms which are present on the earth. Still 99% of the organisms are not even identified by the scientists, right? This is very a kind of a diverse planet, and there are a lot of different species are present. A lot of new new organisms are present. This huge availability and variety cannot be studied and identified without having a proper system. So scientists have adapted some kind of techniques how to identify an organism and how to name an organism, and where to keep it in the hierarchy. Maybe it is an animal, maybe it belongs to an animal kingdom, or maybe it belongs to a monerans like bacterians and all. Maybe it may belongs to the mycota kingdom as a fungi, right? Scientists have come up with a lot of identifying ideas and the way of identifying the things and naming the things, right? For that purpose, they have identified a proper system of classification and nomenclature of the identified organisms, right? Let us learn about what are all the systems they have followed. First thing is a systematics. Systematics itself will tell you that something is there which they have followed systematically, like a progressive one, a schematic one, right? Let us see that the word systematic is derived from the Latin word systema, which means the systematic arrangement of organisms. A systematic arrangement of organisms, like whether this organism belongs to which kingdom, then after that if it is a plant, which class, then which family, which genus, and then a species, right? They have, for that we call that as a systematics, arrangement of organisms in a schematic way, systematic way, right? The Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his book. He used the Systema Naturae for all in his book of Systema Naturae. He has kept all the schematic arrangement of organisms. Like if an organism is having a particular character, they should be included in a particular kingdom. Like that, in his book Systema Naturae, he has kept forth all the systematics, right? Then he coined the term systematics in 1975. Okay, let us go for next slide. Systematics is a branch of science that deals with unique properties of species and groups to recognize, describe, name and arrange the diverse organisms according to the organized plan. See, this systematics is like a holy book for naming an organism or to organizing an organism into a proper way in its kingdom, right. And in 1961 Simpson defined systematics as the study of diversity of organisms and all their comparative and evolutionary relationships based on comparative anatomy, physiology, biochemistry and ecology. See, in 1961 Simpson has given a different kind of a definition of systematics, that it is a study of diversity of organisms. Diversity of organisms means different species or different families of organisms are studied under systematics, and he has given that as all their comparative and evolutionary relationships and how they are related to each other evolutionary, like how they have evolved from which ancestors, from a common ancestor every organism is evolved, but in the systematics we used to have a evolutionary relationship also, right. A particular organism is having particular characteristics, from that characteristics which one a new characteristic is added to a particular organism, it will show the evolutionary relationship, because it is carrying the A, B, C, D character and a new character is evolved in a particular organism or a particular generation. A, B, C, D and E character will be added into it, right. And it will be based on comparative anatomy, how the structure of an organism, physiology and all the functions of the structures and organ systems, and the biochemistry, all the molecules and what about the chemical reactions in it, and ecology, where they are living, what is their habitat, what kind of interactions they have with each other biodiversity, among the biodiversity, right. The word systematics and taxonomy are often used interchangeably by the scientists, right. Some scientists will call these kind of study of organisms and keeping them in a systematic way. Sometimes scientists have termed that as a systematics, and sometimes scientists have called them as a branch like a taxonomy, right. Let us understand the systematics. We have understood the systematics, and let us understand systematic includes what are all the things, right. First thing, let us identify like identification. The name itself will give you small information about how we will identify an organism. See, it aims at finding the correct name and appropriate position of an organism. See, it is also a part of systematics. First thing is finding the correct name, whether it belongs to a particular family or not. And by keeping the comparative study of what are all the characteristics of a particular family, whether the identified organism possesses the same characteristics or not, and appropriate position of an organism, like whether that identified organism is particularly belongs to a Monerian kingdom or a Mycota kingdom, or else it belongs to the Plantae or Animalia or a Protozoa, right? Positioning of an organism, and the morphological and anatomical characters are examined, how they were look like physically, the physical structure and all, and what is its anatomy, what is its skeletal system and all. With all these things, the part of systematics is the identification, identifying a particular organism. For proper identification, this identification technique will be followed. Next is the classification. Classification it is almost impossible to study all the living organisms, correct? Without studying, without knowing the classification, we are not able to study all the living organisms in this diverse planet Earth. So, it is necessary to devise some means to take this possible, to make this possible. See, to study this diverse organisms, we need to have a proper classification, right? This can be done by classifying the organism. It is done by the classification of an organism. Thus, classification is the process by which organisms are grouped into categories based on some easily observable characters. Like the organism will be classified based on its easily observable characters. This is a process we followed in a classification. On some easily observable characters, biological classification is the scientific arrangement of organisms in a hierarchy of groups. See, in the biological classification, there were a hierarchy like a kingdom, phylum, or class, division, family, genus, and species. All the seven schematic classification will be followed in the arrangement of an organism in a proper hierarchy, right? Then let us see the next point, like advantage. What is the advantage of classification? It helps to identify, first advantage, it helps to identify an organism easily. If we see the classification of a particular organism, we will easily identify that, right, it belongs to this particular family. Then it means this organism possesses all the particular characters which the other organisms which belongs to the same family possesses, right? And the second advantage is new organisms easily get correct place in their respective groups. If a new organism will be identified by having a proper classification, we can keep that organism in a proper classified manner. It makes study of fossils easy, right? We can study the fossils very easily if we have a classification, because in a classification there were a lot of comparisons will be done. Then they have divided the organisms into different groups, like this organism belongs to this class and this family, then this genus. When a new organism will be identified, we can keep it, we can compare it with the fossils, and we can get a relationship between the present generation and the past, which existed in the past days. Then it also helps in building evolutionary pathways, right? Evolutionary pathways we can identify. Then it becomes easy to know the features of whole group by studying one or two organisms of a group. By studying one or two organisms in a group, we can identify the maximum features of organisms which belongs to the particular group. Thus, based on these characteristics, all living organisms are classified into different taxa. Right? Based on this classification, all the organisms are grouped into different taxa. Right? Then let us move to the next slide. Then the nomenclature. Then advantages of classification. Till this we have understood all the characteristics, and we have identified all the classification and identification and all. And thank you. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you one and all.